Hey everybody, welcome back to Jim's Garage. This is part 2 of the DIY private cloud, where in the last video we set up Netbird. I demoed how I'm going to test this before deployment. I've since put my little beauty in the car, sent that over to my mother-in-law's house, and now I'm going to set this up in a remote setting. So hopefully all of the testing we did in the last video is working. I've put some port forwards in, which I'll have a look at in a moment, and we'll also test that the Netbird interface shows that we can connect before we actually then try and access our SMB shares. Now, if everything has worked, this should be as simple as just firing up the virtual machine and accessing that SMB share. Nothing should have changed. So with everything now currently deployed and in place, this is what it looks like. So if you remember from the last video, we've got this Netbird demo. This was just a Ubuntu VM that I spun up within my cluster. We had the Windows 11, which is basically just a Windows 11 virtual machine where I'm going to actually mount the SMB. But once you've got this all sorted and remote, you could deploy Netbird agent onto any of your clients and mount this in the same way. Now, the bit that makes all of this work is this one here. This is the Netbird. This, if you remember, is the one that has TrueNAS, which is hosting the SMB. And then it has a virtual machine on there. And that virtual machine is the one that's actually serving up the connection. So this here is the virtual machine on TrueNAS. And if you remember, we set up a bridge on TrueNAS, which means that once you access this virtual machine here, you can actually use it as an exit node. And you can also then access the interface of TrueNAS for some remote management. Now, we can see that this has worked because if I hover over onto this part here, where you see the Union flag, you'll see that I've got a public IP address that is different to the public IP address that I have here. That's because this device is no longer here, yet you can see from the green lights that we are still connected onto the Netbird network. That's the beauty of this whole setup and why mesh VPNs are pretty epic. Yes, you can also do this with point-to-point, but the reason I like this is because I could just deploy this anywhere and it's trying to phone home. Plus it has the advantage of I can route my traffic if I wanted to because it's an exit node over this one here. So now that we can see all the clients and they're up and running, let's just confirm that everything's working and then it should be a case of off to the races. Now this video won't be long, you'll be grateful for, but I am interested to see sort of what speeds I'm going to get when I upload stuff to this NAS. So if I connect back over now to the virtual machine I used in the previous video, and if we log in, one thing you might note is the IP address has changed in the top corner. Originally, we were on the, I believe it was the 9 subnet, so 9 dot, and I can't remember what it was, but now we're on 1.1. Now, the reason that is because I have TrueNAS set to DHCP in the networking tab, and the router that is at my mother-in-law's house, the default network range is 1.1/24. So this is the one it's picked up, 1.10, and you can see now that I can connect to this machine via Netbird, and I can access this locally on her network. So this should mean that everything is now ready to work, so we can get my share that's over here, and I can mount that locally to this machine. Because the IP address has changed, the existing SMB share I will need to delete, and I'll need to add this one as a new one. So if we right click and we map a network drive, I'm going to map it as Z, and I'm going to do //192.168.1.10, and I want Netbird-SMB. I want to connect using the different credentials, and I need to put in Netbird and Netbird. And voila, we've now got this connected, and this is connecting remotely over Netbird, over the internet, into the NAS that's now in a different house. Ace. Okay, so I've headed over and I've just downloaded this 1 gig zip test file. Let's now open up and let's see what speed we can get when we copy this over to that machine. So heading into our downloads, I'll right click and I'll copy this file, and then we'll paste it into the SMB share. Fingers crossed we get something good. So going down to more details, you can see here I'm getting about 60 to 70 megabytes, 73, which is pretty amazing considering this is going over the internet over a mesh network. Now, obviously that's just a single file copy. I could do something more elaborate like using FIO or any other sort of speed testing, iPerf, etc. But I'm more than happy with how that has turned out. I'm not going to be needing this to be ultra performant. I'm not going to be using this as, say, SAN storage or for VM storage, etc. This is purely going to be for backups. So having sort of 60 megs continuous is more than enough. I don't need to worry too much about input-output latency. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm really happy with how this has turned off. Obviously, I need to do some more longitudinal testing, see how resilient and robust this setup is, and I'll report back on that in, say, a month, 6 weeks' time, just to let you guys know. But I think we've done enough to prove the concept, and do let me know if this is something that you guys are going to set up now that you've got the know-how how to do it. Anyway, as always, if you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.